Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Man, I am excited. Steven, thank you so much for being on the show today, Coaching Call. And we have so much to talk about.
Awesome.
Tell us how your day's going so far.
Well, I was looking forward to this call today. I've already had one client conversation, and I experienced. First, I want to thank you for letting me be on your show. I appreciate the opportunity. I was on with you one other time, and it was a great time. So today, I had a conversation with one of my clients, and one thing I really love is when I see smiling faces, and that the things we've been working on over more than a year in this particular case are really bearing fruit. So it's exciting for him. It's good stuff.
Well, it's got to be exciting for you too when you know that your efforts have actually bared fruit, right?
Yep, exactly.
I want to get to know Steven deeper than I know you already. So
Okay.
it's because I'm curious. I want to know you. What
Okay.
motivated you? Talk to me about where you were born. Where'd you grow up? Who influenced you when you were before you became a teen, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? If you can recall those moments that you think impacted into who you are today.
Okay. Well, I was born in South Dakota, but when I was 6 years old, we ended up in Wisconsin, in central Wisconsin. And I spent, I guess, well, I should say my family spent 8 years in central Wisconsin, and then moved down to the Milwaukee area when I was a junior in high school. So the one of the highlights of my life actually occurred while I was still in Wausau, our freshman football team. And we had a good team. We knew we had a good team, and our coach knew we had a good team as well. So I just remember at the beginning of the first game, he was sitting down. We were sitting, I was fortunate. I was in the first team. So we're on the first bench, and I was playing center at that point. So I was right in the middle of the bench, right?
Right.
So he made this statement. He said, "You can't go undefeated unless you win the first game." And it has stuck with me ever since, because it really reveals the value of time. And, when you play football, you have a handful of games. It's not like playing baseball when you got 120 or 162 game season.
Right.
So we did win the first game and all the games thereafter. We did have the undefeated season. But that opening line that he gave us to the team has been with me ever since. And to me, it reflects the value of time. And when you have opportunities, you need to take them. Some things take some time to develop, but the objective is worth it. I don't like wasting too much time. So,
yeah, I see that. So it's important to know the end results or what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was saying in that case, we were looking for an undefeated season. We never talked about it except that one moment. And we just let every game play out. And we had 6 games in that season, and 4 of them were shutouts. So
wow. Pretty cool. So moving from place to place, how did that impact you with having to make new friends, leaving old friends? Because that can be tough for a kid, right?
Yeah, it can. And moving when you're 16 years old is not the best time in life to move. But here again, to me, I looked at it as an opportunity. I was playing football, so I had a natural in to the school.
Mm.
So I went and checked out. So I started football practice with everybody else before school started. So, I was in that environment. But I looked at it this way, and I have moved many times in the corporate world. I was 7 times at UPS.
Mm.
So it's a new opportunity, and it's a time to get rid of the old and start fresh. And that's really the way I looked at it. And any old garbage I had from the past was gone. Nobody would know about it. It was my chance, to start again. And that's what we did. So for me, the move was positive.
Nice.
For me.
Nice.
I know that it's a difficult period. My sister struggled with it a little bit. She was a little bit younger than I was. But I have always made the best of every opportunity. And one of my other things happened. It only happened the following year after moving. I was elected president of Student Activities Board in high school after being there for a year. And I was elected the youth governor of the YMCA program in Wisconsin my senior year.
Nice.
Again, out of a new location.
Huh.
So I started the process in Wausau when I lived up there and kept it going in Milwaukee. And it's just, it's a new environment, but it's the same person that's, trying to prepare themselves for the rest of life.
Yeah. So what motivated you? We're talking about your sports, winning, challenges, moving. When did you realize that business was something you wanted to get into and in the field of leadership even, or was that just by chance that you went into it? You started working for UPS. Was that the first company you started working for?
Well, it was the first company of that size. My first job was when I was 14 years old. I worked in a car wash.
Nice.
I worked in a grocery store when I was 16. But what happened was my dad had always told me, my dad had a tremendous impact on my life. And he always told me, he said, get a profession. So he threw this idea out to me. He says, be an attorney CPA. And I thought that's probably a pretty good combination. So I actually started going in that direction. So when I started in college, I was an accounting major, getting ready to, go to law school and all that stuff. Well, that's not what the Lord had in mind. So when I was a sophomore in college in 1972, I started at UPS. And I noticed something. I was in economics as well. I love economics. And one thing I noticed about UPS, and I hadn't been there that long, I had one of the good jobs there as an hourly individual. I was a sorter, so I saw lots of good stuff. But UPS was the picture of laissez-faireism to me. Laissez-faireism, survival of the fittest. Because UPS at that stage did not cover all 48 contiguous U.S. states yet. I could see that if you worked hard, there were opportunities there. And the integrity of the organization made me want to be part of it. That's a huge issue for me. So that's what it got my attention. So the thought of being in business as opposed to being an attorney caught me there. And then one day, after I'd been there for roughly, 10 months or so, one of the supervisors came up and asked me if I'd be interested in being a part-time supervisor. And as soon as I got that offer, it was like, here's my chance, So I said, yeah, I really wanted the job, but I didn't want to beg for it. I wanted people to want me to have it. And that's what happened. Nice. So I got invited and I got started. And on my first day of management, I ran into my first challenge. And I was leading people who were older than I was. I was 20 years old at this point. So being 20 years old and leading people that are 20, 21, 22 years old, basically junior and seniors in college at that point, because I was still still in the sophomore end. The question I had was, how am I going to do this? Because at that age matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to treat them like I'd like to be treated. And I figured if I did that, I'd be okay. And I'd get off to a decent start.
You gave yourself good advice.
I did. Actually, I think the Lord nudged me in this direction. But the thing is, so I did it, and it worked for me for 34 years in the management team at UPS. I kept it going, modified it as needed going through, but it's always been the focus. And the focus on leading people in any situation is the golden rule.
Yeah.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah. Treat people with respect always. Yeah. Absolutely.
Always. Because, I could talk about this forever.
You and I both.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, we are relational individuals. We were never created to be I'm going to use the word dictator for the lack of a better word, a dictator over people. We were led to be, we have relationships with people. And when leaders have leadership roles, they need to lead through the relationships, not through the 2x4 approach, but through relationships, so inspiring people to want to do their best work.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You keep mentioning the Lord, and I'm so glad you do. Tell me about your faith. And usually I don't say this to people on a show, but because I am faith-based as well.
Right.
I read my Bible every day. I take notes and the whole deal. What was the impact? And when did you start your own faith journey, if you will? Because a lot of times it's our parents who influence us.
Yeah.
But at one point we have to make it our own.
Right.
So tell me about that.
And I have an interesting journey. I think everybody's journey is interesting, but this is the way mine went. I was raised in a Lutheran household, so there was always church in my life, but it was never to the point of a salvation moment when we give ourselves to the Lord. That never happened for me that way. And I wasn't really looking for it, and I didn't realize it was even there. So actually, I was not saved in the Christian world until I'd been at UPS for 30 years.
Really? Huh.
But here's the interesting piece of the story. And I've asked the Lord many times, why was it so late? Right? But what happens is my story is likely the reason. Because when I'd been at UPS for 30 years, I was saved then. So I had 4 more leadership years there after that. When I got done at UPS and took an early retirement and moved into the entrepreneurial world and moved into the coaching world, one of the first things I did was I looked at my career and what I had accomplished throughout the career. And I stumbled onto something. What I did was I wrote down my entire career, assignment after assignment after assignment. And I probably had 20 of them at UPS. Some were concurrent over the 34 leadership years I had there. But I wrote down what my assignment was, the type of group of people I was leading, and what did I learn in each assignment. And when I say type of group, if you could have a group of people where everybody's doing the same thing, or you have a group of people on the other end where they're experts in what they do and they're all doing something different. Right. Those are the 2 extremes of leadership opportunities. So anyway, I went through that, and I did this for the whole 34 career years, leadership years, and I discovered something. I discovered that the Lord spoon-fed me all along the way, and I didn't even realize it. No. And the reason I can say that is for this. UPS has an interesting, you don't see it in writing, but it works this way. If you do well, you're left alone. I was left alone for 34 years.
Mm.
I did my own thing at UPS all this time. So while I'm doing my own thing, the Lord is spoon feeding me with everything I ever needed in every assignment along the way, even the ones I didn't like that much. I did have a short time when I didn't have a full appreciation for that assignment. It was in Columbus, Ohio, in a region office. But what I didn't realize was that those 3 years prepared me for my 5 years in Europe because of the similarity of the job. But getting back to your question. So at the end of 30 years, and I was saved, I realized when I did this analysis that even though I had been saved for 5 years at that point, he was in my life for 35 years that I could identify. Now, this happens to everybody. It's not only Steve Turner that goes through this. The Lord is involved in our lives all along the way. And at some point on the journey, he taps you on the shoulder and he says, come with me actively. I want to do this with you. So that happened. And I could talk about this forever as well. I've had some amazing moments with the Lord where he basically confirmed what I believed to be the case. And he even, he gave me an experience that is a great life lesson and a great business lesson. So after I was in the coaching world, had just gotten started. I was in it like a year. I was whining, basically. Okay, what's next here? It's not happening, whatever. This is what he did. This might sound a little bit, this is interesting. He took me in a vision-like environment where he took me over a golf course and there was somebody standing on the tee and it was me. And the Lord said to me, he said, can you see where you are? I said, yes, I'm right there on the tee. He said, can you see where you're going? And yes, the hole is over there. Then he asked me this question, and this is a valuable question. How many different ways can you get from where you are to where you're going? Now, in that case, and every case on a golf course, it's an infinite journey. You can start in a given place and get to a given place, but the process of getting there varies tremendously. We should never be afraid of the varying path with our focus on the goal, because things will happen along the way where the path is going to be adjusted for whatever the reason. Surprises along the way that we aren't expecting, but they happen. But all the time we're going through this navigating the path, the Lord is watching because he wants us to get to the goal. Okay? So, get to the goal. But here's the thing that came out of this, and this image continued to develop over time. And this is one of the developments that came out of it. A leader, people will try to produce one, but there is no such thing as 10 steps to being a good leader. Doesn't exist. Someone can say it does, but it doesn't. Because leadership is an ever-evolving journey.
Totally agree.
It's more like the golfer who on the PGA Tour can carry 14 clubs in his bag, and he or she uses the club necessary for whatever the lie is. The clubs are always there, but you use the one you need at the moment. So as leaders are developed, it is a gathering of skills. It's not a list. As you go through your events of life, and this was the first 30 years at UPS when I didn't realize he was impacting me, I gathered all those skills. And I just kept using them. I got new ones. I used them, and went along the journey. So the nice thing about us as leaders, we're not limited to 14 clubs.
Thank God,
have
right?
as many skills in the bag as you can possibly get. And the longer you're in it, the better you get.
It's very interesting how you were talking about he's been with you all that time.
Yep.
But you didn't recognize it until you decided to do a discovery of you, right?
Well,
Figure where you
here's
were.
here's just how this happened. This was like he's a surprise at times.
Mm.
So I'm sitting in the kitchen, and my wife, who had been saved since she was 13 and had drifted like many young people do along the journey, right? God doesn't get excited, upset about it. He just lets you learn things.
Right.
She made a comment. This is what happened. She said, "I want to live in God's will."
Mm.
The response that came out of my mouth, I guarantee you, I'd never thought of. But I said this: how great it would be to have the creator of the universe in your corner.
Mm.
And that was the moment for me.
Huh.
Now, you're a sports guy, so you'll relate to this. The image I had in my mind of this, believe it or not, was Muhammad Ali. That's it. That's it. Muhammad Ali in the ring and Angelo Dundee over in the corner.
Mm.
So Muhammad obviously is doing the fighting, but Angelo is throwing out, the
Commands,
guy,
yeah.
leadership and all that kind of stuff, right? But the great thing about God, he's in every corner, above and below. But that was a start for me.
Mm-hmm.
From that point forward, my life changed.
Wow. And
I learned.
it's so cool that you recall the exact moment.
This was my first, and I could go on with this forever as well.
Mhm.
But my wife and I started going to a different church on that weekend.
Mm.
So we get this new church, and I'm in there. And one thing about the fact that I was always on my own at UPS, I've always been a leader. But as much as I followed people on paper, because I reported to somebody at UPS, nobody ever guided me on being a leader.
Mm.
So here was the first challenge. I am now following Jesus, but I had to admit I didn't know how to follow. And that was my first request. Jesus, teach me how to follow you. Because I would walk into church with my leadership hat on. I'd take it off, put my follower hat on while I'm in church, right? This went on for about 4 to 5 weeks. At the end of the 5th week, I walked out with both hats on.
Mm.
And from that point forward, I was leading and following at the same time.
Yeah. One of the things I always say, in order to be a great leader, you need to be a great follower.
Yep.
And it's interesting that you talked about wearing both hats.
Yeah.
One of the things, Stephen, that really fascinates me about you is that you did the self-discovery. And a lot of people will retire, or they'll stop something and do something else, but they'll continue with everything they've been doing without reflecting, without getting detailed about their journey. And I think that has set you apart. One of the things that I want people to follow you. So if during the time, just take a minute in the private chat, just put in your link so I can share it with everybody. Right now, everybody, you can follow me. You can connect with me on Calendly.com, Sifu/Sifu Raphael /15min. So for me, this is why I love the conversation that we're having, because you do a dive, you explore, you understand. And that's really what a leader does. A leader understands that in order to lead, you also need to follow.
Absolutely.
And when you realize that, it took you a couple of weeks, but that probably changed even your trajectory of where you're going today,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Sure.
Let me ask you, what happened that you decided to, was it retirement? Was it time? Did you say, I've done 34 years at UPS, it's time for something new? Or like most people, they retire and then they just, I'm going to golf every day, or I'm going to go, and then they sit home and watch television all day.
Yeah.
But that's not you.
Nope. Here's the story behind that. I woke up one Tuesday morning in December of 2006. I woke up and I heard this word, said, "You're going to get an early retirement opportunity and you should take it." It came 2 days later.
Wow. So the Lord was speaking to you even then,
Yeah.
yes?
So how he did it was UPS had done a number of acquisitions and was getting top heavy in certain areas. So UPS identified, now at UPS, the general rule is 55 and out.
Mm.
So I was getting.
You broke up a little bit.
I was approaching it. So what they did was the opportunity.
You broke up
What was
a
the
little
last
bit.
thing?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You were saying. Also, did you put anything in the private chat? Not yet.
I haven't hit enter. My email
hit
ID.
enter.
I'm listening to you.
I hear you. Thank you.
It's even wrong. That's supposed to be a hyphen in there, not a equal sign.
Gotcha. I'll change it. I'll fix that. No problem.
Okay. So, so that happened, and then
you're good.
2 days. Okay. Then 2 days later, the opportunity came. So UPS was letting people that were within 2 years of retirement take an early retirement, and I did that, following the Lord's direction, and that's how it happened for me.
Mm.
And so then I came out of that, and I knew where I was ending up. I knew I'm going to end up in the coaching world. So as a result of that, I've always wanted to teach people how to do this. I did it. First of all, I taught people how to lead for the entire 34 years at UPS,
right?
Because I taught people to take my place and taught people how to develop themselves. And this is an important piece of leadership. Mm. Are you willing to spend the time to develop the people that report to you as individuals as well as in the business? Mm-hmm. And you can do both things at the same time with no issues whatsoever.
One of the things that you just said that a lot of people may have missed, and I want to come back to that, is that you were teaching people how to take your place.
Right.
That is true leadership, because so many people are afraid of somebody. Oh, it's my job. They're going to take my job. No, it's an opportunity to help someone else, because that elevates you, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And every leader should be in a program to work themselves out of a job, right? Because they found somebody else to take the place. Because if you don't make yourself available, why should anybody come looking for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. This happened at UPS all the time. People were given opportunities. If they could train the replacement. Now, one thing nice about UPS is there was always geographical relocations. So it was not that I was training my immediate replacement. I'm training a person that can do my job, but they'll do it someplace else. Mm-hmm. So it kind of got rid of that. By the way, the slash should be a hyphen.
The slash should be. So Steve at Flow
hyphen business hyphen solution.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it was nice at UPS because you had geographic relocations. So I could train my replacement, but my trained replacement would go someplace else. But when I had trained somebody, I would also go someplace else and somebody else would come in. So it was back and forth like that. But the approach is dynamic. I mean, it's an awesome approach that you work yourself out of a job so that you are available to do something else. Gotcha. And that's what we always did.
That's a beautiful thing. And that's correct, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. So that's a really interesting concept that the company has, that to work yourself out so that there's space for other people to, because it keeps the flow, if you will, right, of growth for the company. And that's why they're global now, right? Before.
Yeah, and it also enables fresh blood to always enter into a geographic area. Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So the 55 and you're out, Is that still part of, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not with them anymore, but I'm wondering, does that really eliminate people? Or do people say, "Whoa, I gotta hurry up and find something else to do," if they're not ready to retire?
Well, normally, if you've been around long enough to where you've been leading people for a number of years, you're probably financially able to take the retirement
Mm,
because you've accumulated some stuff over time.
right.
And one of the great things about the philosophy is it keeps the business in the hands of younger people.
Mm,
Because when the people at 55 are out, that creates vacancies, and those people have to move up and take them.
mhm,
And based on the success of UPS since 1907, now a global organization of 500,000 people,
mm.
the process works.
Yeah. I can only imagine how many people are retiring every year. 55,000. How many are hitting 54 and they're like, "Oh, I'm out next year."
Well, first of all, they don't have to retire.
Mm,
It's an encouragement.
gotcha.
But if someone wants to hang around till 60 or 65, that's up to them.
Okay.
It's just that the organization itself embraces 55 and up.
Gotcha. So you got this incredible opportunity and you took it.
Yep.
And you took it because you said to yourself, "I can do something else." Did you know when you, on that Tuesday morning, when you got this voice saying you're going to get an incredible opportunity, and 2 days later it presented itself?
Yep.
Did you know what you were going to be doing?
Not specifically,
Okay.
because I also knew that the Lord makes changes without telling you where you're going. You can go back to Abraham, right?
Mm,
God says to Abraham, "Go." Didn't tell him where he was going. He just told him to go. And he went and started moving, right? Go west. So anyway, so I came out of UPS. I always wanted to be a coach. And I kind of waited for a while
mm,
before I did a whole lot. I've always liked real estate. So I actually started a real estate company for the purpose of flipping houses.
mhm,
And here's my next God event. I won't say it's the next one, but it's pretty significant.
mhm.
So this will go back in 2008 now. So in 2008,
Oh, I remember that year, don't we all?
yeah, yes, we do. January 8th, 2008 at 3:30 in the afternoon, this happened to me. I was at a class learning how to market real estate on the internet. While I'm in the class at 3:30, the Lord said, "Market the management skills I gave you at UPS."
Mm.
That was the end of the real estate career.
Huh.
It was shortly thereafter that I made the whole thing about my career, because I was coming out of that meeting,
Right.
going home, telling my wife what I just experienced. And then I started that journey, and we started doing the coaching things and creating coaching materials and things of that nature.
Mm. Very interesting.
And
Interesting.
so that's the golf course thing came slightly after that. And it all, it journeys down the road.
Yeah, and the journey's not over for sure.
No.
So we spoke earlier before we came on live,
Mhm.
and you tell me that, and you can tell us even more. You understand the value of your coaching, and you even talked about this gentleman that you had a call with earlier,
Right.
who you've seen your work helping him to establish something that the goal was.
Right.
And it's happening. It's working, and it gives you joy. It gave him joy without a doubt, because you want happy clients anyway, right?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Nobody wants an unhappy client. So you were also talking about the importance of being able to deliver the message that you have to more people, and you're figuring out that the Lord told you this is what you need to do as well, which is public speaking. Talk to us about that.
Okay. The way this got started was in February 9th, 2022. I received a word from the Lord. I wrote it down. It's in my prayer journal here. It said, there's going to be a shakeup in corporate America. That was it on that day. The following day, he said, there are going to be significant changes in corporate America. Some are going to fail. Some are going to get new leadership. I want you to write a corporate manifesto on the way it's supposed to work. So when the Lord drops stuff on you like that, he proves himself by giving you the peace that goes along with it. So after hearing the word, and I went like, okay, in came his peace as well, saying basically, I'm going to take you on this journey, but you're my voice. Now, I'm not the only voice, because it so happened that 1 week later, make a long story short, I met a lady that's been on a similar journey for 5 years. And given what she was doing on her journey, she had come up through corporate America in large organizations working on large projects. So she was involved at AT&T when wireless started to come out. And that's the kind of stuff she did. I ran the organization, different operations, finance and accounting, and technology. I was in all those spaces leading people. She was doing this project stuff here. Well, she had a statistic revealed to her. The statistic is, and it's been out since 1990 by the Gallup organization, 85% of people are not fully engaged in their work. That's a scary number.
It is very scary.
She got that revelation, and she asked a question, what am I going to do with this information? And she got a word from the Lord saying, I want you to fix it. So she's been on her journey doing her thing. So she did things in this area, and I've got my things, and we came together, and we found out they went together like a puzzle.
Nice.
So the two of us are creating a business. It's called Beyond Resilience. And we are going back into corporate America to teach leaders how to be leaders. Now, I am very comfortable. I'm just going to tell you this. I'm very comfortable doing this. I'm very comfortable doing it because I've done it for all this time. So one of the advantages that I have doing this is that I am a 45 to 50 year testimony of this stuff working. So when someone comes up to me and says, and our program is completely different than anybody else's. Not that all the concepts are different, but the approach and the application of it is different. So that it creates long-term change, not a short-term flash in the pan. So when someone says to me, how do you know this works so well? I've done it all my life.
Proof.
So I am my own testimony. Now, I can tell you, I'm going to give you an example of what can happen when people lead people across the board. When people feel like they have an opportunity and a chance to do things. How much time do I have left? Anyway.
You have plenty of time. Go for it.
This is going to sound arrogant, but I'm going to paint the picture, and then I'll tell you what happened. So I was in my new assignment, and I was I was a controller in one of the districts at UPS. And every single day we had about a 20-hour operation there. So I would come in at 7:30 in the morning or whatever the time it was. But I would walk around and I would say hello to every single person that was in that building at the time I got there. Just hello, how are you? That's it. Quick pass, 3 minutes, whatever. I just move around, right? And we had some other things develop over time. So I'd probably been there for 4 months at the point this occurred. So I walked in, and our lead, one of our upper level non-management people, I walked in the office. This was in the technology room. I was in the computer center, actually. And she said this to me. And again, I will warn you, take it for what it means. She said, "Steve, you're too smart for this job."
Mm.
That was a reflection of the fact that they had not been treated this way before. And because it's such a departure, people look for an unusual excuse or reason or whatever. So in this case, I'm supposed to be too smart for this job. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. It's the fact that I'm just leading people, treating them like individuals, respecting them as individuals, and raising them up, right? So it's not the smartness, it is the approach.
Yeah.
But it identifies how it is such an extremely different thing than what people normally experience.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's
you know, most people don't experience that. They go to work and, you know, they're told just do your job and just do what you have to do and don't do anything else, right?
And that creates and identifies the difference between managing people and leading them. Because systems, processes, and procedures should be managed. People should be led.
Yeah.
And when people become managed, they naturally resist. When people are led, they naturally follow. And I can tell you, it's a whole lot more fun.
Oh, yeah.
You get a whole lot more done.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
When you consider, you know, just the simple hello, the simple of how are you, you know, even if you spent 30 seconds with a person, most people are not acknowledged when they go to work, right? If you recall the show Cheers, when Norm walked in, everybody's like, Norm, the whole place. Why did he always want to be there? Yes, he went there to drink and he went there to socialize, but it was always people acknowledged him and made him feel like he was home.
Exactly.
And that's what is missing a lot with leadership sometimes. And obviously, you know more than anybody because you've done it. You know how it helps people. But for us, that's the most important thing. Myself, you know, in my businesses, anytime, I'm always making sure that somebody's feeling okay. How's your day? You're not smiling today. What's going on? So it's that moment that you can just take to be human, to treat a person like a person, not a process, not a maneuver, right? And it's genuine. It's coming from a place of love, if you will, right?
Exactly. Well, you give people the impression, and the real impression, not fake,
right,
that they're valuable, and you appreciate them as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Steve, you partnered up with this lady. You created this company.
Yep.
You decided you both have a calling. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool that you guys even were able to connect and create that puzzle piece that was missing, right? Because maybe you didn't realize that you needed her. She probably didn't realize she needed you. But when you met, it was just click. It just snapped into place, if you will.
Yeah.
How is it going so far?
Well, right now we are still in the funding stage. We have everything put together that we're going to do. We know exactly how we're going to do it. We're still getting funding together. We have commitments on part of it. We still have to get that done. But once that shows up, we then get into action mode. And the first thing we need to do then is to start to distribute the message. Now, here's another God message. I've asked him this question many times. How are we going to do this? And this is what he said. He said, you put out the message, I'll distribute it. Okay. So in that environment, we're going to put the message out there and let it fall on the ears of the CEOs and business owners that need to hear it and will react to it. Not everybody's going to react to it. That's okay.
Correct.
But there will be many that will.
Mm.
So we're doing that through, that's why I want to get into the speaking realm. So by getting into the speaking circuit, and I mentioned to you before we got on live here, that you can be a coach who speaks, or you can be a speaker who coaches. I prefer to be a speaker who coaches, because then you're out there and you can impact more people at a time.
Agreed.
So whether it's a group of CEOs, put the message out there, it'll fall on the ears that need to hear it. Or have a roundtable on Zoom, or, whatever. Get involved in local groups and just put the message out there. But so we're going to put it out there, and we'll let the Lord distribute it. So this is not a cold call scenario.
Yeah, nobody likes cold calls anyway.
Right. Well, right. And so it is, find the platform, put it out there. I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah. Well, anybody listening to today's show will understand that you definitely know what you're talking about, that your heart is in the right place.
Okay.
Because you want to help. You're not looking for money. Don't get me wrong, money is part of everything, right? Because we need to live.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But I think the message here that I'm hearing from you is that you want to help change what's going on in the industry of leadership.
More than you
those
can
people who are leading, right? Those people who are in charge, if they lead better, we will have better outcomes. We will have better results, because we need to touch upon the leaders, the people who are making the impact, right?
I can give you whenever you're talking to a business owner or a CEO, and given what their responsibility is, everybody has a pain point, right? And it doesn't have to be bad pain. It can be heartfelt hook. That's my thing. Okay. So one of the statistics that is pretty ugly in this country, that unfortunately too many people accept as normal, is our employee turnover rate. The employee turnover rate in this country is 9.3%. And when you consider, on average, it costs $35,000 to replace a full-time employee, from all the costs, the hiring costs, training, and all that stuff. So that means if you're an organization of 1,000 people, you're turning over 93 people every year, and you're spending $3.2 million to do that every year. So now let's think of this. Is there a better place to put that money? So one of the results of doing what we're doing is, I guarantee the turnover rate will drop at least in half. And I can say that because my turnover rate while I was at UPS was almost zero. People didn't run. See, when employees resign, they're leaving the manager, not the company. They're fleeing the person they're reporting to. Well, if the person that they're reporting to is leading them and they enjoy being there, they're not going anywhere.
That's right. I
can prove it. So let's take the scenario I just had. If we cut the turnover rate in a business from 9.3% down to about 4.6, you're going to save $1.6 million. Now, I, as a business owner, could find a lot better place to put $1.6 million than in replacing somebody I should have never lost in the first place. Right? But what else do you get from it? You retain people longer. You can promote from within. The fringe benefits of having a well-educated, knowledgeable, fired up, positive, engaged workforce is practically undescribable.
Sure is.
It touches everything.
One of the things that I'm thinking about when you talk about the turnover rate, it's also the amount of time that's taken away from the people who have to train them.
Exactly.
And then you're getting somebody to start a job maybe they're not trained in, and they're being paid a certain salary, Meanwhile, they're not worth the salary they're being paid because they don't know how to do the job. So
That's right.
this is this crazy cycle that keeps going on. And you said, like, shut the back door, right? Literally, right?
Yeah,
Only
exactly.
keep them in, don't let them out.
Right.
We let them out because it's how we treat them. It's, yes, people come in for finances, but once the finances are set, they leave. And you said it's because of management. It's because they're not being cared for.
Yeah,
Right.
you've identified one of the errors in employee understanding, and that has to be the value of money. Money is a short-term motivator, and you can explain it very simply like this: if we are all in this, we have a salary, whatever it is. If we get a pay increase from a promotion, from just a general across-the-board pay increase, how long does it take to actually absorb that money in your lifestyle? You can easily absorb it in 2 to 3 months simply by doing a little bit more than you did before, and all the extra money is gone because it's committed to new things.
Right.
So the fact that somebody receives X number of dollars and they're going to be happy with that, it's good for 3 months. Then it's no longer a motivation because they want more. So I can't say to you that, I'm paying you X amount of money, so I expect you to be happy for the rest of your life.
Right.
It doesn't happen, right? It doesn't happen.
Not at all.
So it's actually number 4 on the list.
People would rather be. Go ahead.
No, people would rather be a member of a team and know they're a member of a team. They want to be well trained. They want to have opportunities to do greater things. Now, that's a huge impact on somebody. If I brought you in and I trained you on what I hired you for, right? You're happy because you could do the job well, because I wanted to make sure you do the job well. But if I came to you a couple, 3, 4 weeks later and I said, Sifu, what would you like to be in 3 years? Because you're doing a great job here. What would you like to do down the road? Well, now all of a sudden, your thinking is beyond today and it's into tomorrow. And anytime anybody believes that the leader believes they can do more and they themselves start to believe they can do more, rock and roll.
I have a client who was at a company for a very long time, and he kept asking for opportunities and not happening. It was not happening for him. And he was at the company for a very long time. And I kept saying, well, they don't respect you. They don't honor you. They don't see the value that you yourself see. So when, as the saying goes, when the straw broke the camel's back, he actually started looking at other companies. And they were like, oh my God, we would be honored to have you.
Yeah.
Not only did he get a humongous pay raise, he has the freedom now that he was never allowed before.
Nice.
At the other company, they worked him to death and wouldn't give him a raise, wouldn't promote him, wouldn't give him any value, because the new company that took him on sent him out because of his expertise. This guy's an expert at what he does.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, where have you been all this time? And now not only does he have a higher position, but they've already elevated him. And he started not long ago that other companies found out about him and now they're trying to steal him, right?
Yeah.
But he's not going. Why?
Well, yeah, because they're treating him right.
That's right.
Here, let me give this to you. This came from Richard Branson. He made a comment that said this. He said, train people well enough so they have the ability to leave, but treat them so they don't want to.
Yeah, agreed. I am 100% that way.
That's what you just described.
Oh yeah, that's how I treat my clients. Not only my clients, but my employees as well, because I have both, right? I have people that I employ. I have clients that employ me. But here's the thing, and you said it earlier. Do you want to be at a place where they don't treat you right? So therefore, I also turned that around. And do I want a client that I can't work with?
Exactly.
The money is not important. I've fired clients before. I've let go of customers, both clients and customers, right? Because their values changed. They didn't, not necessarily fall into what I needed, but they were hurting other people along the way.
Mm,
And that was values that I could not stand, right?
right.
They don't go with me, right? If you're not nice to another person, we either have to have a conversation or you're in the wrong place. And then so what happens for me is I used to take every client because money was everything.
Hmm.
Money's not everything, right?
Right.
So when you realize that money is a vehicle to get everything, great. But when we understand that the value that we can bring to one another, that's gold. That's truly what drives me to. I interview my clients coming in. I interview anybody I'm going to work with. I've had people who ask me to. Also own a wood shop, and I'll go to their home. I'm very polite. I'll take my shoes off, the whole deal. When I first enter, they're like, "Oh, you don't have to." I'm like, "That's just the way I am." Because if you came to my house, I want you to take your shoes off too, right? But that's so I treat everybody like I want to be treated, right? So what winds up happening is I make an assessment if this is going to be a good working relationship first, then we can talk money, right? If it doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
it's not going to be good for both of us. And then I part ways, you know?
Yeah, because as coaches, you always have to remember that your clients really don't care how much money you make.
Mhm.
What they care is who you are and what you
Yeah.
stand for, and what are you going to give to that person. That's the value. The value is the value that you provide. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
You know.
One of the things that my own clients, when they refer somebody to me, this is what they say. I'm going to refer you to Raphael, but I don't know if he'll take you as a client. I don't even have to say it. They say it for me.
Okay.
And they say, yeah, he's kind of going to vet you out first. He's going to make sure that you're a good fit. Because for me, when I work with somebody, I feel like they're family. If you don't
Yeah.
feel like it's family, listen, I believe in God, right? And you believe in God. We have something in common. But
Hmm.
I know a lot of people who believe in God, but they don't act like they have God in their life, right?
And that is a whole other topic.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I got to tell you, Stephen, this has been a very, very not only interesting but informative conversation. You've shared so much with us that I definitely encourage anybody. I'm going to put your info here again for anybody to go to you, find out more about you, and listen, CEOs, entrepreneurs, somebody who really wants to elevate themselves.
Yeah.
You need to talk to my friend Stephen. What would you say is the one thing that you can leave somebody with today that they can even start to think about their life?
Well, let me give you this here. I had a friend of mine who I've referred to. He's kind of like one of my mentors, I guess you could say.
Mm.
He asked me a question. He says, "This is the way I look at employees. This is the way I challenge leaders to look at employees. Are your employees a line item on your income statement
Mm.
or an asset on your balance sheet?"
That's
That
powerful.
goes back to the comment you made earlier on the same line, the
Mhm.
value of a person. And then I have this as well. Now, I've had this conversation with a number of people, and I was talking to a lady. This is about 4 or 5 months ago, I suppose. And I'm explaining to her the thing, lead, manage, whatever. She says, "Do you mean that I obey my managers but follow my leaders?" So she expressed the view from the employee's perspective.
Mhm.
You know, I'm coming at it from the leader's perspective.
Right.
I told her, I said, that's excellent. Can I use that? She says, sure. So that came from this lady that was a sharp business lady. And she expressed it that way. And that's exactly what it is. How do your employees look at you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they obeying you or following you?
Mm.
Because the obey result will end up in the 85% of people not fully engaged in their work, because it leads to stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
And once employees hit stagnation, they're in it for the paycheck,
right,
and benefits. And here's a test. When an employee goes home at night and they walk in the door and their significant other asks them this question, how was your day, dear? Do they give a good answer?
Mm.
And that's a good test for us as well,
Oh, yeah. Mm.
right? Because if you give a good answer, you're not going to throw up on your family
Right.
with all the evils of the day. You're going to focus on the sports victories, the school victories of families and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a whole lot better way to end the day.
Oh, it's beautiful. Very well said. Thank you, Stephen.
Yep.
This was, like I said, an exceptional conversation. Thank you so much for being here with me today. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. Just hang around for a minute, Steve.
Sure.
Everybody, do me a favor. Follow Stephen. He is an amazing leader and can get you to be one as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Look for the next one. See you soon. Bye-bye.